The night had fallen with a weighty silence over the Mage Academy, the air still and thick with the lingering tension of the day's revelations. Soryn stood at the window of her chambers, staring out at the night sky. The crimson moon hung low, casting an eerie red hue over the world below. Its color was deeper, more ominous than usual, a harbinger of something ancient and powerful. As she gazed at the moon, a memory stirred within her, one that had been buried deep in the recesses of her mind. The blood moon, the prophecies, the ancient texts. Her breath caught in her throat as the pieces began to fall into place. A sense of dread washed over her, chilling her to the bone. Without a second thought, Soryn turned away from the window and hurried through the darkened halls of the academy, her heart pounding in her chest. The archives were vast, a labyrinth of knowledge accumulated over centuries by the greatest minds of Avalere. Soryn moved with purpose, her steps echoing off the stone walls as she made her way to a section seldom visited, where the oldest and most obscure texts were kept. The air was thick with dust and the scent of aged parchment, but Soryn paid it no mind as she searched for the book that haunted her thoughts. At last, she found it. The Book of Nyhm. The tome was ancient, its leather cover cracked with age, the pages yellowed and brittle. It was said to contain the teachings and prophecies of Nyhm, the last Omni-Mage, a being of unimaginable power who had reshaped the world 1,000 years ago. With trembling hands, Soryn opened the book and began to search for the passage that had seared itself into her memory. Her fingers traced the faded script as she read, the words confirming her worst fears. When the blood moon rises over the iron-root peaks, and the world is bathed in purple light, a child shall be conceived under its ominous gaze. This child, born of magic and blood, shall carry the power of the 7 elements, the essence of an Omni-Mage. Their fate is tied to the cycle of errors, the end of one and the beginning of another. They will bring forth either salvation or destruction, depending on the path they choose. Guide their way, or face the wrath of a power not seen in millennia. Soryn's heart pounded in her chest as she absorbed the weight of the prophecy. The child Alora carried was no ordinary child. It was the potential reincarnation of the very being that had once wielded the full force of elemental magic. The implications were staggering. The Academy had been founded on the teachings of Nyhm, on the understanding of the delicate balance of magic and the forces of nature, and now that balance was threatened. She closed the book, her mind reeling. The burden of this knowledge was almost too much to bear. How could she tell Alora? How could she look her friend in the eye and explain that the child growing within her was destined for a fate that could reshape the world? Zax had the right to know as well, yet Soryn couldn't bring herself to shatter his hope. Not yet. The decision weighed heavily on her, pressing down on her chest like a physical force. She wanted to protect Alora, to shield her from the truth that could destroy the fragile peace they had all fought so hard to maintain, but the child was too important. The power it held, the potential for both good and ill, was too great to ignore. Soryn stood in the dim light of the archives, her hands clenched into fists. The prophecy echoed in her mind, intertwining with the image of Alora lying unconscious in the infirmary and the innocent life growing within her. Could she truly bear to burden Alora with this knowledge? Could she risk the consequences of keeping it hidden? With a deep breath, Soryn made her way back to her chambers, her mind in turmoil. The decision was not an easy one, and the path ahead was fraught with danger and uncertainty. But she knew one thing for certain: when Alora awoke, she would have to tell her the truth, no matter how much it pained her. But not yet. For now, she would watch over her friend, guard the secret she had uncovered, and prepare for the moment when Alora would be strong enough to face the destiny that awaited her, and the child she carried. Syra lay awake long into the night, the red moon casting its ominous glow through her window, a silent reminder of the prophecy that had set them on this path. And though she did not yet know how she would find the strength, Syra resolved to be there when the time came, to stand by Alora's side and guide her through the trials that were sure to come. For in the darkness of that crimson night, Syra knew that the future of their world now rested in the hands of an unborn child, and the decisions they would soon be forced to make.